Medical emergency on plane, death? If he was left alone and all the people aiding him walked away, he was dead. They wouldn't leave a vulnerable man alone unless there was no saving him. It's normal to feel upset after witnessing someone die, even if you don't know them. Please take it easy and be kind to yourself. He was dead. When the doctors, attendants, and wife left him, he was gone. Also, if he was alive, they would have landed immediately at the nearest airport to get medical attention. If they spent 45 minutes getting to the destination, there was no emergency. He was beyond help. So I'm not a flight attendant. I'm a park ranger, and a couple times I've had to close a busy beach and ask people to leave because we were going to have to recover a drowning victim in full view of the beach. People will gawk. People will record it on their cell phones and post it on social media. People will be extremely inappropriate given that the victim's spouse and kids or parents or other family are right there. So we remove the public from the equation. Get them out of the way and let this poor family at least have some privacy and dignity while this happens. That's what probably happened here. He was in the back of the plane. Rather than removing this guy by parading him past 150 or 300 or whatever passengers, they removed the public from the equation. It sounds like he died if the wife also left him to return to her seat. Fainted on a plane once. New med dropped my blood pressure when I stood up. Lay on the plane floor for a while. It's bloody cold down there. Finally lay down in a row of seats. Upon landing, the EMTs came onto the plane and assessed me before taking me and my family off. First there was talk of diverting. I begged them not to. Took me to hospital and I was fine. Continued our holiday. I think your guy was dead. EMT here. Yes. The man died. I've never been on a plane. But when a code 100 is called, declaring the individual deceased, the body stays on scene and the coroner will come to the scene and retrieve the body. Seeing a dead body, even if it's very recent, can be a very unsettling thing to see. So in this case it was better to keep the body where it was so people don't have to see a dead body being rolled out. A sheet would have been put over the body and the body would have been loaded into the ambulance. And 2. To be respectful and maintain privacy for the individual's family, because some people are asshats who have zero regard for others' privacy and want that internet clout. Reading this makes me sad for the deceased family. Skeptical smiley face. Physician here. Once a physician responds to a medical emergency on a plane, it is their responsibility to stay with the patient until they can hand the care to another medical professional on the ground. So them walking away was a telling sign that the man had unfortunately passed away. Don't be ashamed to seek counseling if you need it. Sudden death can be overwhelming whether or not you know or even saw the person. He died. If he was fine, they would have either taken him off the aircraft or he would have walked off first. Then everyone else would have gotten off. The fact they stayed there so long goes to show they were doing tests to confirm death and then possibly remove him from the aircraft. Truthfully, if you have a medical emergency on board an aircraft, you are screwed, cause there is generally very little help. And by the time it gets to you, you are screwed in more ways than one. My daughter is an trauma nurse at a level 1 trauma hospital. On a flight home for a visit not too long ago, there was a call on the announcement system for medical personnel. My daughter and another nurse responded. They were escorted to the bathroom at the front of the plane where a young woman was passed out between bouts of violent vomiting. The cabin crew gave my daughter the medical kit, which she said had most of the stuff they had in code blue cart. She started an IV, got it on the first try on a bumpy flight, and added some Ativan to help reduce nausea. The girl confessed to drinking heavily the night before but claimed she had not had a drink for several hours. My daughter told the crew that she didn't think the flight needed to divert. The point is, she stayed with the sick girl for the rest of the flight, even stabilizing her when the plane landed. She was standing over the girl. If the medical team goes back to their seats, it was either not an emergency or there was nothing more that could be done. EMT were first on the plane. Daughter briefed them on what she had seen and what she had done and when. The other nurse recorded times. Then they took over and that was it. They asked the passengers to stay seated to allow the two nurses to get their stuff, but of course, very few did. Pilots came out and thanked them. Then she got her stuff and left. A month later she got a fairly hearty number of frequent flyer points. Who knows? My friend died a few years ago on a flight to Newark. They found him unresponsive when the plane landed. He was actually only 32. He was a very solid dude and a neighborhood legend. It happens. 20 years in fire, M's here. He gone. That man died. Like many others have said, if he was left alone, there was nothing to save. I work in operational aviation. There are two ways of dealing when it comes to dealing with emergencies once you've landed. So long as the person is still alive, and it depends on the emergency response and the airline operating. Generally, if the emergency responders are there and waiting, they will enter the aircraft as soon as doors open and are cleared. Passengers will be asked to remain in place. If passengers get in the way, they may be asked to deplane. I wouldn't recommend skipping the queue this way. It's a good way to be branded an asshole, and there may be fines or penalties involved. If the emergency responders are not already waiting, e.g. the incident has happened at a point where the pilots could not be contacted for the safety of the aircraft, happens as you land, then it might be better to get as many people off as you can. In widebodies, it may be possible to have several bulkhead sections emptied, or have passengers moved away from the incident, to clear a better path for EMTs and give them space to work. Pilots, when they can, will normally divert to the closest airport. So long as the person is still alive, they will declare a pan med, which means that they need priority, but that the aircraft is not in danger. They will be given as much priority as they can. Depending on where you were, your destination may have been the closest airport. It sounds harsh, but if he was dead, there would be no need to cost the company tens of thousands and put everyone else on the plane out at a possible closer airport. Alive, worth it. Dead, not. No one here can definitively answer this, as anything from a fainting spell to stroke, heart attack can cause this. If it's the latter, 45 minutes is a long time to get care, and fellow would either be dead or his quality of life just plummeted. He died, sad face. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have just left him if he wasn't dead. So likely they knew GE was dead long before they landed and first responders went on board. He died. His poor wife, pensive face. 45 minutes to landing. Probably an hour from a hospital is a very long time to be in cardiac arrest. Heart stopped. Based on description, what likely happened was 1. Something happened, such a heart attack, blood clot in lungs, stroke, etc., that causes his heart to stop. Point 2. CPR started. AED used. Point 3. No improvement after 20 minutes. With 20 minutes at least before ALS could arrive. At this point a small CPR team would be exhausted. At this point the chance of meaningful brain tissue preservation is nearly non-existent. Even if they continued CPR to the hospital and somehow got the heart restarted, He would be paralyzed and comatose from the lack of living brain tissue. So they stopped CPR. You all left the plane so the coroner could come to pronounce the death after everyone left.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.